I was pruning the rose bush behind the shed when I found out I was dead. Jerry from 2 doors down leaned over the fence, awkward as ever, and said, "I didn't expect to see you up and about. Thought, well damn, George, I heard you passed." I paused, clippers still in hand, and turned slowly. "What did you just say?" He blinked. "I saw it on Facebook. Daniel posted, Jesus, man. I'm sorry. I thought it was some kind of memorial post, but people were saying you died. I even commented." I stared at him, not fully processing. "Look, maybe I got it wrong," Jerry added, already retreating like he wished he hadn't opened his mouth. I wiped my hands on my jeans and went inside. Didn't say a word. Laptop was still on the kitchen table. I opened it, fingers colder than they should have been, and searched Daniel's name. There it was. A photo from my retirement party. Me holding a plaque I didn't want, wearing a tie Ellen had picked out the night before she passed. The caption read, "Goodbye, Dad. Thank you for everything. You were the strongest man I ever knew. I hope I make you proud." No date of death. No funeral info. Just a digital eulogy, vague and clean. And the comments, God. So sorry for your loss, Dan. He was a great man. I remember George fixing my fence when I was a kid. May his memory be a blessing. It didn't feel like real life. I clicked through to Daniel's profile. Same tone all over. Mourning. Legacy. One post even said he was launching a new project to honor his father's entrepreneurial spirit. My spirit, apparently. I checked the timestamp. The post had gone up 3 days ago. 3 days. I was still here. Still waking up at 6:30. Still making bad coffee. Still walking twice a day. Still reading the paper. Still remembering to water the tomatoes Ellen insisted on planting every April. And somehow, in those 3 days, I died without noticing. I should have called him. That's what normal fathers would do, right? Pick up the phone, demand an explanation. But I didn't. I opened a blank spreadsheet instead. Named it, Daniel, Post-Mortem Timeline. I typed the first entry. Day 3 of my death. Discovered Facebook post announcing it. Photo used without permission. Caption vague. Community believes I'm dead. Then I opened the GoFundMe. Of course there was a GoFundMe. Honoring George Mason's legacy. Description. After my father's passing, we've been left with final expenses and a home he adored but couldn't maintain in his final months. We're raising funds to settle his affairs and preserve his memory with a small community project in his name. $14,873 raised. From friends, neighbors, former co-workers, even my old supervisor from the plant. I stared at the page until my vision blurred. Daniel hadn't even called. Not once. I wasn't confused. I wasn't fading. I remembered everything. Every screw I replaced in this house. Every trip to the pharmacy I made for Ellen. Every time Daniel needed a bailout or a favor or a lie told on his behalf. I closed the GoFundMe. The old wall clock ticked loudly into the silence. I looked around the kitchen like it belonged to someone else. Same counters I'd leaned against while telling my wife I'd lost my job. Same fridge where we used to pin up Daniel's report cards. Same window where she used to hum while washing dishes. And now my son had declared me dead. Not legally, no death certificate, no coroner, no body. Just dead in spirit. Dead on the internet. Dead enough to raise funds, collect sympathy, and prep the world for an inheritance. I walked outside. The sun had dropped low, painting the garden in that quiet gold Ellen loved. I sat in her chair, the one I hadn't touched since the day after her funeral, and I waited for the cold to settle in my chest. But it didn't come. Not yet. I didn't leave the house the next day. Not out of fear, just observation. I let the phone stay quiet. No missed calls, no urgent voicemails. No knock on the door asking why the dead man was still paying his utility bills. Daniel hadn't tried to check. That told me something. He didn't expect to be caught. That morning, I pulled out the legal folder Ellen used to keep. Everything was still perfectly filed. House deed, tax records, will, the old version from before she passed. Daniel was listed as the sole heir. Of course. I laid it all out on the table. Then I picked up the phone and called Carla Bennett, the only attorney I ever trusted. When she answered, I didn't bother with greetings. "I need to update my will," I said, "and I need to protect my assets from my son." There was a pause. Then, "I'm listening." By 3 p.m., she had a new version drafted and sent over for my review. Trust-based, airtight, and with a clause Daniel couldn't touch unless I personally authorized it. I hadn't even spoken to him in over a week. Not since he'd gone on a business trip. Not since I apparently died in my sleep. Before bed, I checked the GoFundMe again. $17,290. Same copy-pasted lines about legacy and carrying on his dream. My name slapped onto a lie. Donations from people I hadn't seen in decades. A high school friend. A guy from my church. And Daniel just smiling. I took another screenshot and added it to the folder. Then I wrote in my spreadsheet, Day 4. No contact. Donations climbing. Legal response in motion. He still thinks I'm quiet. But I wasn't being quiet. I was building. On day 5 of my alleged death, Daniel made it official. I got a letter from the county recorder's office. Inside was a copy of a pending title transfer form, submitted by the Mason Family Legacy Trust. My signature was on it, except I'd never signed it. I studied the lines. It was clean, too clean. A careful imitation. Not a scribble, not a mess. Someone who had studied how I wrote my G's and curled my M's. Daniel had forged my name. He wasn't just declaring me dead online anymore. He was trying to legally erase me. I called Carla immediately. She was calm, expected this. "We'll block the filing," she said. "Forgery's a felony. Want to escalate?" "Not yet," I said. "I want him to keep going." That evening, I looked through old photos. Not out of nostalgia, strategy. I found every image of Daniel that might matter. Smiling at my retirement, shaking hands with friends, posing in front of the house he now claimed in my memory. I needed contrast. The public saw one version of him. Soon they'd meet the other. By now, the GoFundMe had hit $22,000. Daniel posted another update. "We're overwhelmed by your support. Dad would be proud of what we're building in his name." I stared at that sentence. Would be. He wrote it like I'd already faded. But I was still here, and I remembered everything. I saw him again on day 6. Not in person. On video. Someone sent me a clip from a real estate networking event, Daniel on stage, giving a 5-minute pitch. He wore a dark suit and that fake humility he always thought passed for charm. "Our family has always believed in legacy," he said, pacing the stage like a preacher. "My father was the backbone of everything I am. After his passing, I made it my mission to honor the work he started." They clapped. The screen behind him showed a photo of me, again the retirement party. They'd used it like a logo. There I was, alive, unshaven, tired turned into branding. He ended the pitch with a phrase that stuck in my jaw. "This isn't about grief. It's about vision." I didn't throw the laptop. I just added a new row in the spreadsheet. Daniel uses image at public event. False claims about inheritance. Timestamped. Later that night, I walked out to the porch, sat in Ellen's old chair, and stared at the road. I didn't feel rage. I felt something quieter, the kind of silence that comes before the ground shifts. Let him speak. Let him build. The higher he climbs on my name, the further he'll fall when the truth lands. On day 7, Daniel called me. For the first time since I died. The call came in around 7:42 a.m. No warning, just his name on the screen like nothing had happened. I let it ring. He didn't leave a message. Instead, 15 minutes later, he sent a text. "We should talk. Something got twisted. Call me." Twisted. That's the word he chose. Not, "Forgive me." Not, "I messed up." Just something got twisted. Like the whole thing was an unfortunate misunderstanding and not a carefully orchestrated erasure of my life for profit. I didn't reply, but I did notice a change. The GoFundMe had quietly been updated. The donation button was disabled. No public explanation, just a locked campaign and a note at the top. Temporarily paused due to administrative review. Someone had reported it. I had my suspicions who, Carla maybe, or one of the donors who started asking questions. Either way, the mask was slipping. At noon, I called the county office myself. Has the title transfer gone through? I asked. No, the woman replied. There's a hold on it. Legal counsel flagged it last week. Was there an attempt to resubmit? Yesterday, she said. Rejected again. He was still trying. Still pretending I wasn't watching. That afternoon, I prepared the final step. I gathered every document, the forged title form, screenshots of his posts, the pitch video, the GoFundMe totals, and handed them over to Carla. I want to send him something, I said. Legal. No. Personal. By evening, she'd helped me draft a simple packet. No accusations, no threats, just proof. Labeled, dated, unignorable. I mailed it to his office. Certified. Let him open that at his desk. Let him feel the floor shift beneath his expensive shoes. And then I waited. I didn't want an apology. I wanted silence. The kind that comes when a man realizes the ghost he tried to bury is staring right back at him, holding receipts. Day 8 began with an email. Short subject line. I didn't mean for it to go that far. No greeting. No signature. Just one long, sloppy paragraph from Daniel, trying to rewrite the story in real time. He claimed it started as a joke. A social experiment, even. Said he panicked when people believed it. That he didn't know how to back out. That the money wasn't for him. It was to create something in my honor. No mention of the forged title documents. No mention of using my face at events. No apology. Just spin. I didn't reply, but I took my time reading every word. I read it the way a surgeon examines rot. Later that day, Carla called. He's hired a lawyer, she said. Expected. His name's not on your estate anymore, but they're asking questions. They know we filed fraud alerts. Let them ask. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table and watched the street through the blinds. A silver BMW pulled up at 8:17 p.m. Daniel. He didn't get out right away. Just sat there staring at the house. Then, finally, he stepped onto the porch and knocked. 3 times. I didn't answer. Instead, I flipped the porch light off and let him stand in the dark. After 5 minutes, he walked back to the car, slow, unsure, and drove away. Inside, I added a line to the spreadsheet. 8:17 p.m. Knocked. Left in silence. And then I wrote another. Still breathing. Still watching. Still mine. Day 9, I returned the favor. No calls. No warnings. Just a quiet delivery to Daniel's office. Inside the envelope, a copy of my most recent will, notarized and sealed. A full record of the GoFundMe activity, annotated. And a photo of me holding that day's newspaper, standing in front of my house. Alive. Under it, a handwritten note. You buried me too early. Carla said it was unorthodox. I told her I wasn't interested in courtrooms. Just clarity. The kind that lingers. By afternoon, Daniel had seen it. I didn't need confirmation. I could feel it. His LinkedIn profile went private. The website for his fake legacy company went dark. The GoFundMe was removed entirely, not just paused. Gone. But that wasn't the end. Around 5 p.m., I got a knock on the door. Not Daniel. A man in a crisp suit. Early 40s. Thin folder in hand. Mr. Mason? I represent Daniel Mason. He's requested mediation. Mediation. He believes there's been a misunderstanding. I didn't invite him in. Tell Daniel, I said. That misunderstanding ends when a man stops pretending the person he stole from was already in the ground. The lawyer paused, adjusted his tie. Is that a no? That's a never, I said, and closed the door. For dinner, I made Ellen's soup recipe. Too salty, like always. I ate it in silence, folded the napkin just the way she used to. The porch light stayed off that night. Some ghosts choose to linger. Others learn to lock the door from the inside. By day 10, the story had started leaking. Not mine. Daniel's. Someone from the fundraiser, maybe one of the donors, maybe someone inside his office, had shared the screenshots, the obituary post, the GoFundMe, and the part that really caught attention, that I was still alive. An anonymous Reddit thread popped up. My friend's dad faked his own death, except he didn't. Comments poured in. Speculation, mockery, outrage. They tore him apart line by line. He monetized his father's name while he was alive? Dude straight up held a fake funeral on LinkedIn. What a psychopath. I didn't post. Didn't comment. Didn't need to. Daniel was finally learning the cost of a lie left out too long in the sun. I called Carla. Still want to stay out of court? She asked. I told you, I said. This isn't about jail. Then what? I looked out the window at my overgrown lawn. The leaves had started falling. The garden had gone quiet. I just want him to feel what I felt, I said. To look around and realize he's the only one standing in the room, and no one believes a word he says. That night, Daniel sent one final email. It wasn't an apology. It was a request. If you want me out of your life, fine. Just don't destroy me. Please. No punctuation at the end. I stared at it for a long time, then deleted it, and slept better than I had in years. The next few days passed without a word. No more emails. No calls. No knocks on the door. Daniel had gone quiet. I didn't mistake that for peace. Silence, after all, isn't the absence of noise. It's what remains when everything worth saying has already been stripped away. I kept busy. Replaced the broken porch step. Took down Ellen's wind chimes before winter came. Cleaned out the gutters. Something Daniel always said he'd help with and never did. Then, on day 13, an envelope arrived by certified mail. No return address. Postmarked from out of state. Inside a check. Made out to me. The full GoFundMe amount. No note. No explanation. Just a check and a silence so loud it felt like confession. He was trying to make it disappear. I stared at it for a long time. Folded it once. Slipped it back into the envelope. Then dropped it into the fire pit behind the shed and lit a match. Ellen once told me, if someone shows you what they are, don't wait for them to prove you wrong. That money was soaked in rot. I didn't want a refund. I wanted memory. Later that night, I got a message from Carla. Media request came in. Reporter digging into fake death story. You want to comment? I replied, no. Let them guess. The dead don't speak. And then I poured a glass of water, sat under the porch light, and listened to the world get quieter around me. Autumn passed slowly. The tomatoes withered. The porch stayed cold. I didn't decorate for the holidays, hadn't in years, but this time, it felt like the quiet belonged. No more letters came. No more headlines. No reporter knocking. No neighbor whispering condolences like they knew something I didn't. Daniel disappeared from public view. His business shut down quietly without announcement. A couple of the donors filed claims, but no one pressed hard enough to bring in lawyers. He wasn't worth the attention anymore. That was the real punishment, irrelevance. He'd built a name on a lie, and when the lie rotted, so did the name. I still lived in the same house, still made coffee too strong, still read the paper every morning, front to back, like I was waiting to see if my name would show up again. It never did. Good. I left my will in the drawer by the phone. Final version. Simple. Clean. Everything goes to charity. Not because I'm bitter, because some legacies are better built from scratch than handed down through fraud. One afternoon, I sat on the porch and watched a couple walk by with their toddler. They waved. I waved back. They didn't know the story. Didn't need to. To them, I was just an old man on a quiet street, alive and still here, exactly where I wanted to be.